Şöyle kaydı başlayalım. Sevgili YouTube, merhabalar, hepinize hoş geldiniz. Karşınızda Stanley Parable. Bir YouTube'ları alalım öncelikle. YouTube'ları alalım. Karşınızda Stanley Parable. Ben şey indirmişim lan. Altyazı indirmişim. Okey, tamam. Lan diyorum ne ara? Doğru, ben zamanını oynayacağım diye altyazı indirmiştim. Bu ne lan? Oha, burada şey gözüküyor. Tamam. Karşınızda Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Bakalım, güzel bir seri olacak diye düşünüyorum. Çok ilginç, çok farklı bir oyun. Hepinizin de zevk alacağını düşünüyorum. Tamamen oyuna odaklanmanızı istiyorum arkadaşlar. Bakın, özellikle Kick chatine söylüyorum. Bu arada Kick'te yayındayız artık. Haberiniz olsun. Açıklama kısmından Kick linkinden de yayınlarımıza gelebilirsiniz YouTube. Kick'teki arkadaşlara söylüyorum chat'e. Bu oyun odaklanılması gereken bir oyun. Lütfen oyun dışında bir mesaj atmayın. Moderatörler, oyun dışında mesaj atanlar olursa, hani böyle ne bileyim salak salak sohbete muhabbete falan girmeye çalışanlar olursa lütfen timeoutlayın. Devam ederlerse de banlayın. Let's go. Ayarlar var. Dil Türkçe. Tamam, altyazıları göster. Oyuna başla diyorum abi direkt. Hadi bakalım. Let's go. Ve spoiler lütfen vermeyin abi. Backseat'te yapmayın. Abi şunu yap bunu yap falan demeyin.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Eyvallah.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Nasıl ya? Beyaz yakalı olmaktan mutlu mu Stanley? Okey, tamam.
And then one day something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
Okay.
No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all the years of the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okey. Şimdi anlatıcının tersine gidebiliyoruz. Yani ofisten çıkmayabiliyoruz. Çıkmazsak bize kızıyor bir yerde. Öyle muhabbetler oluyor diye biliyorum. Ya da tamamen anlatıcının yaptığı şeyleri yapıp, ya dediği şeyleri yapıp devam edebiliyoruz. Hadi bakalım. Dublaj Deluxe'a kaldırılmış değil mi? Bilmiyorum abi. Dublajla oynamam zaten büyük ihtimalle. Evet. Çıktım abi ofisten.
All of his coworkers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tamam. Toplantı odası. Toplantı odası neresidir? Bura mı? Okey. Toplantı odası bura değil. Bu taraftan galiba. Ne ofismiş lan burası? Bu ne amına koyayım? Toplantı odası buranın olacağını hiç sanmıyorum. Bu sorgu odası gibi lan burası.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Soldaki kapıdan girdi. Şimdi ben sağdaki kapıdan girersem anlatıcı benim ağzıma sıçacak değil mi? Nereden gireyim ya? Sağdan gireyim.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Yok. Ha, olabilir, tamam, evet.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring.
Eyvallah.
It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Eyvallah. Tamam, buraya da girmeyebilip buradan devam edebilirim. Değil mi?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Uyarı. Oha, bayağı buralara kadar çevirmişler. Oha, TL. Hareket halindeyken kargo asansöründen atlamayın. Atlamanız ölüme sonuçlanır. Kargo asansörün yanlış kullanım cezası 1000 TL. Kargo asansöründen atlamanın cezası 5000 TL.
Look Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Eyvallah abi.
Stop trying to make every decision.
Tamam. Dinliyorum abi seni. Tamam. Tamam. Özür dilerim. Dinliyorum.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ne oluyor lan? Kim bekliyordu beni?
That's her, Stanley.
Ne oluyor lan?
You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
Oğlum ne oluyor?
Truly place your faith in another. Then pick up the phone.
Telefonu kaldırmazsam ne olur? Hadi kaldıralım. Ne oluyor lan?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha.
Kandırdım. Bu nasıl atıyorsun?
Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Orası şu yani niye beni seven biri olmasın ki? Benim gayet seven birim var yani.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Günaydın çalışan 427. Klavye bas.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Eyvallah.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Basmıyorum lan. Basmıyorum. Ne yapacaksın ki? Basmıyorum amına koyayım. Hadi hiçbir tuşa basmıyorum. Basmıyorum baba. Karşı geliyorum. Çıkmak istiyorum ben buradan dostum. Basmam mı gerekiyor? Galiba basmam gerekiyor arkadaşlar. Basmıyorum lan. Tam basıyorum.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown.
Başka tuşa basılıyor mu? Yok. Ekranda gözüken tuşa basmak gerekiyor.
It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would
ever. Sağ tıkla ilerleyebiliyorum. Tamam hadi al.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss,
orospu beni burada mı tutacaksın bir sal ya?
Suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Z. Kankalarla zaman geçirmek için Z tuşuna bas.
So, he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Oh.
As he wandered through this fantasy world,
etraf
he
değişti.
began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Çocuklarına bir hikaye anlatmak için J tuşuna bas.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Eşine ona sevdiğini söylemek için lütfen V bas.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly?
Evet çünkü eşim yok ya abi.
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one.
Ne? Karideslerden nefret ediyorum mu yazıyor? Ne yazıyor lan orada?
And I'm trying to tell him this. That in this world
Pazartesilerden nefret ediyorum.
be anything but an observer. That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself.
Tamam abi sal da beni gideyim.
He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Tamam yapmıyorum lan. Yapmıyorum. Dinleyesim geldi değil mi bir anda böyle? Yapmıyorum abi. Evet. Ya basmıyorum abi. Alo. Ama sen beni basmaya zorluyorsun şu an abi. Bas.
You see? Can he just
Sikerim.
not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Lütfen hiçbir şey sormamak için M bas.
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose.
Burada ne yaparsan yap onun dedikleri geçer. Kestim.
I'm compelled to.
Tamam. Oyuna en baştan başlıyoruz galiba şu an.
Well, maybe this time he'll see.
Okey.
Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Lütfen öl artık mı?
And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Ne oldu lan? Okey.
All of his co-workers were gone.
En baştan başladık şu an.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tamam. Toplantı odasına gidiyorum. Okey. En baştan başladık lan. Harbi. Tamam. Solundaki kapıdan. Giriyorum abi. Tamam bu sefer bakalım. Şeyi dinleyelim. Anlatıcıyı deneyelim. Ne olacak bakalım. Anlatıcıyı dinleyince ne olacak? Okey. Kovulmamak için ipuçları. Orospu çocuğu okusaydım. Bir iş arkadaşı ile bir anlaşmazlık nasıl çözülür? İçinizdeki öfkeyi biriktirin. İş arkadaşınıza pasif agresif bir şekilde içinizdekileri dökün. İş arkadaşınıza sizi daha fazla... Okumuyorum ama bunu koyayım. Süpürge dolabı. Patronun ofisine mi gideceğim? Patron ofisi nerede? Tamam. Yukarı çıkan merdivenlere yöneldim. Okey. Yöneldik babacım. Wow. Patronun ofiste neymiş be? Bu ne oğlum? Maşallah.
Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled.
Bu arada bu tarz oyunlar çok ilgi çekici arkadaşlar. Hani şimdi oyunların büyük bütçesi yok ama böyle farklı bir şeyler koymaya çalışıyorlar. O muhabbet çok güzel.
And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number. 2845.
2845.
Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Girmem mi gerekiyordu?
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad,
okay.
Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Tamam. Oğlum çok ilginç lan. Nereden gitmem gerekiyor acaba? Buradan mı? Okey. Aşağı inelim. Indie oyunların bir konuda öne çıkması çok iyi. Evet evet yani adamın bütçesi olmadığı için böyle bir şey yapıyor mesela. Ve gerçekten çok iyi yani.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself. to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him?
Çünkü sen söyledin abi.
This question would not go unanswered for long.
Eyvallah. Ne oluyor lan? Bu oyun Source'la mı yapılmış bu arada? Çok Source gibi duruyor. Burası çıkış diyor. Mind Control Facility. Lan nereye gitsem anasını satayım. Çıkışa mı? Buraya gideceğim. Şeyi dinleyeceğim. Anlatıcıyı dinleyeceğim.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Bilmem. Öğreneceğiz abi, bakalım. Dinlemesine şu adam ama dinleyince ne olacağını merak ediyorum. Kameralar. Kameralara bakalım.
Now the monitors jumped to life. Their true nature revealed.
İşçi kovuldu diyor. Hangi işçi kovuldu? Şuradaki.
The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant
104 numaralı işçi kovulmuş abi. 601 numaralı işçi de kovulmuş. Anlıyorum. Sonrası anlıyorsunuz lan. Kendini hatırlatabilen bir yapısı var. Evet, direkt anlıyorsunuz ya.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job?
Olabilir.
His emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Olabilir baba.
No. He refused to believe it.
Evet.
He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Ne oluyor lan?
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Aynen öyle abi. Özgürlüğümüze kavuşacağız dostum. Bu ne? 5 diyor. Zihin kontrolleri boşta girdi bekliyor. Buna bassam ne olur? 5 diyor. Ha, burada sonradan büyük ihtimalle şeyi çözeceğiz. Okey. Tamam, şimdilik şey yapalım. Şuraya girelim bakalım. Herkes kendi hayatının hikayesinin başrolüdür. Aynen öyle kardeşim. Zihin kontrolleri boşta girdi bekliyor. Hadi bakalım. Sistem gücü. Kapalı açık.
To put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Kapatalım. İşte bu dostum. İşte bu.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes, he had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet,
çıkalım.
Even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel.
Şimdi bana bunu dersen ama bak döner araştırırım bir yerlere yani.
It will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Dinleyelim. Tamam, bu şeyi dinleyeceğim dedim abi. Nasıl abone chat? Abi direkt şey var. Abone ol butonu var. Oradan olabilirsin. Eğer operadan giriyorsam veya mobilden giriyorsam birazcık sıkıntılı. Başka bir tarayıcıdan girmeni öneririm.
The immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Eyvallah. Fabrika niye ormanın ortasında? Fabrikalar genellikle öyle şey olmuyor mu? Yol kenarında, ormanın o tarafta oluyor. Okey. Bitirdik. İlk sondu galiba bu ulaştığımız. Şimdi o zaman çıkıştan gitmeyi deneyelim. Bir de çıkıştan gitmeyi deneyelim bakalım nasıl olacak. Hemen hızlısından gidiyorum. Bakalım soldan gitsek nasıl olacak. Aynen. Yine dinleyelim ama bu sefer çıkıştan gidelim. Bakalım ne olacak. Let's go. Doğrudur abi. Gerek yok zaten. Süpürge odası var. Süpürge odasına da gidebiliyoruz.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Eyvallah abi. Mesela aşağıda inebiliyorum. Aşağıda bak kırmızı bir yer var. Aşağıda kırmızı bir yer var bir de. Neyse buradan gidelim. Çıkışa gideceğim bu sefer. Bu ne? Özel tuvalet. Hislerim var çalmak için para ama tabii ki seninki değil. Çünkü bu zorbalık olurdu. Okey. İlginç. Mesela buraya da girebiliyoruz galiba. Evet. Burada da kafasına silah doğrultulmuş bir panda var. Business strateji diye. Peki bu nedir? Mesela buraya da bakabiliyoruz şu anda. Buradan gitsem ne olur? Oğlum her yerden gidesim geliyor nasıl satayım. Dur bakalım bir de buradan gidelim. Nereye çıkacak acaba? Eyvallah asansör müziği. Bütün YouTube videolarında kullanılan o asansör müziği abi. Galiba sonuza kadar burada mıyız? Evet, teşekkür ederim. Amına koyayım, aynı yere geldik. Tamam. Okey. Bura nedir? Bu bilgisayara bakamıyoruz, okey. Olur öyle şeyler olur. Mesela kodu girmesem ne olur?
What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be?
Mesela 3169 gireyim. Ne olacak?
This keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Yok bilemem abi, doğru haklısın yani. 2453 2023 hedef 2023.
2845.
Abi ama bilemem ki yani, nereden bileyim? 31 1881 dostum.
But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened balls and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Okey. Şimdi girsem ne olur? Neydi? 28 kaçtı? 28.05 miydi? Kaçtı? Şimdi girsem ne olur? ...28.45 miydi? 28... Acaba şey mi diyecek bana? Dalga mı geçiyorum benimle? Amına kodumun çocuğu falan mı diyecek? Dur. 2 nerede? Tıklanmıyor. Yok tamam tıklanmıyor. 28.45'e tıklanmıyor. Okey. Dur deneyeyim lan bir daha. Tıklanır belki. 28. Dur merak ediyorum. Taşak mı geçiyorum benden falan diyecek büyük ihtimalle. Bir şey demedi. Okey. İlginç. Tamam gidelim. Gidelim abi. Gidelim. Merak ettim sadece hani bakayım ne olacak diye. Okey. Şimdi bu sefer zihin kontrol yerine değil çıkışa gideceğim abi. Bakalım ne olacak. Oğlum oyun güzelmiş bu arada lan. Abi niye beni banlayıp duruyorsunuz? Vallahi hakkımı rağmen diyorum, bu hakkında bilgi veriyorum. Adam anlatıcıyı sikim diyor. Geliyoruz beni banlıyorsunuz. Büyük ihtimal seni yaran banladı. Birisi şey yazmıştı. W'ye basınca yürüyorsun abi yazmıştı. Yok. Ben çıkışa gideceğim dostum.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. Yok
canım karşılaşmayız ya değil mi? Ölümle karşılaşmayız canım. Niye ölümle karşılaşalım? Yok. Yok. Hak ettiysem eyvallah baba.
Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Bir şey olmaz. Ben ölmeye gidiyorum dostum. Ölmek istiyorum ben dostum. Ha. Ha, atlayayım mı chat? Sen oynadın mı hiç bu oyunu? Oynamadım. Atlayayım mı? Atlayayım mı? Kendi atladı. Vallahi CTRL'ye bastım kendi atladı. WAS diye bile basmadım. Ölmedim. Ne oldu lan amına kodum anlatıcısı, ölmedim.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
Hayır.
Stanley can't see the bigger picture.
Hayır, ölüyormuşum gerçekten. Lütfen kurtarın beni.
Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted.
Hayır, istemiyorum.
To his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Hayır. İptal edin.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was thrown helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Stanley Parable yazıyor orada. Bu tarafta ne var? Bir yarram yok. Amına koyayım abisi kilondan alayım makineyi bozun. Ya amınıza korum chat bak.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game back in his office as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Stanley Parable. Oğlum çok ilginç oyun lan. Harbi karı bizi kurtardı.
Every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance. Death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Koridor. Anlıyorum abla, dosya dolapları. 2 kapı. 2 açık kapıdan oluşan set. Stanley Parable'ın tasarımının 2 somut parçasıydı. Bu oda oluşturulduktan sonra oyunun geri kalanı bunun uzantısı olarak ortaya çıktı ve bu odanın oluşturduğu çelişkinin bir keşfi oldu. Ofis. Buton sesleri. Eyvallah. Fotoğraflara da bakabiliyoruz. Bu neymiş oğlum böyle? Ofis. Bakım odası. Bakım odasına geldik mi lan biz hiç? Aa bak buradan şeyi görebiliriz. Nerelere gidebileceğimizi görebiliriz ha. Paralar maralar falan. Telefon. Bu ne? Yarrağı yedik galiba. Apartman zamanlayıcısı. Ha, en başa oluyor. Telefonu açmanız için 15 saniye veriyor. Telefonu açmamak farklı bir sona yol açardı. Aa! Telefonu açmazsak farklı bir son oluyor. Kaldıraçlar maldıraçlar. Oğlum oyunda ne kadar çok fazla şey varmış. Bu ne? Remorklar. Oyun geliştirme süreci boyunca her bir oyunun ruhu hakkında bir şeyler aktarmaya amaçlayan 4 büyük tanıtım fragmanı yayınladık. Okey. Fragmanlar galiba bunlar. Anlıyorum. Oyunun bir sürü farklı sonu var. Evet. Çok ilginç. Toplantı odası. Bakım düzeni. Tamam. Ben buradan çıkayım artık. Nereden çıkmıştık? Şuradan çıkmıştık. Okey. Mindfuck oyun. Evet. O ne? Bu ne lan? Robot çıktı buradan. Monitör odası düğmesi.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Doğru, mesela bir anda abone gelebilir. Ananı sikeyim.
You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail.
Tamam.
Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it.
Çıkayım mı?
Don't let time choose for you.
Çıkayım mı? Çıkayım mı oyundan? Gireyim mi tekrardan? Çıkıp gireyim mi tekrardan oyundan? Çıkıp gireyim mi? Vardır herhalde böyle. Esma bakayım. Yapmadım bir şey. Çok ilginç lan. O zaman en başa döndük galiba şu an. En başa döndüksek ya aga be, en azından çıkıp baksaydık ya. İlginç. Ananı götünden siktiğim anlamına gelirdi dostum. Okey. Peki ne yapsak acaba? Bu sefer sağdan mı gitsek kapıdan?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Soldan gidip sağdan giderim.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps
Peki asansörden atlasam ne olur acaba?
Just to admire it.
Evet,
Wow.
eyvallah abi.
Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Yok abi, bu sefer yönelmeyeceğim. Sikerim amına koyayım.
Stanley was so bad at following directions. It's
Kabul etmiyorum hiçbir şeyi. Hiçbir şeyi kabul etmiyorum dostum. Hiçbir şeyi kabul etmiyorum dostum. Gideceğim ben buradan.
Look Stanley, I think perhaps we've got.
Aha, B kapısı açık. Oğlum gidebilir miyim oraya? Chat. Şuraya atlayabilir miyim? Bence atlarım. Ne diyorsunuz? Atlarım bence. Ha ha, bye bye. Tehlike her yerde. Yok. Hayır, görmek istemiyorum dostum. Yok, istemiyorum abi. Yok. Yok. Yok eyvallah. Ben yaşamak istemiyorum moruk. Ben gitmek istiyorum. 2B1. Yok giremiyoruz okey. Ben yaşamak istemiyorum moruk. Beni sal. Beni bir sal. 284 giremiyoruz. 285 2B5. Aha. Tamam.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Maviden gideceğim.
Aha. Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Yok, maviden gideceğim.
I still don't think we're communicating. Stanley walked through the red door.
Yok, ben maviden gideceğim abi.
Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place.
Oğlum harbi adamlar yapmamış lan haritayı.
Is this what you had wanted?
Oğlum adamlar haritayı yapmamış.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Gideyim mi buradan? Gideyim mi buradan? Oradan gitmesem ne olur? Piçlik yapayım mı oradan gitmeyip? Neyse siktir et gideyim ya. Merak ettim oğlum. Buradan kapı...
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Yani bir.
One? I mean, I can understand if you had
Bir yani çok da iyi değil.
ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically.
Oyun mu yapıyorum tekrardan?
That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version.
Eyvallah.
Perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
The Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard. Bunlar gerçek mi acaba? Sadece en kötü %3 oyuncular mavi kapıyı seçti. Bana laf atıyor ya bu arada. Sadece en kötü oyuncular maviyi seçti falan diyor. Ben gidiyorum abi sikerim.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers please.
Tamam, rekabet tablosu 2. 3 diyeyim. 3 hadi ortalama.
I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it?
Olur baba göster.
Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Göster bakayım.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Tamam eyvallah abi.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
Minecraft açıyorum şimdi var ya.
Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha.
Firewatch'a girdim. Ananı sikeyim. Firewatch.
About Stanley. What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
Ne?
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this
Oğlum Firewatch'a girdim.
and it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Olur. Ha siktir, Firewatch mu oynayacağım şu an? Ne oluyor oğlum? Rocket League geliyormuş bile değil mi? Aynen. Oha!
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
Hayır.
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You really wandered off into that thing, that big open,
Güzel.
just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another.
Başka oyun mu?
Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Hangi oyuna sokacak lan?
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Oğlum adam bayağı open world oyun. Rocket League.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Oğlum bunu nasıl yapabiliyor bu adamlar? Bayağı Rocket League yazıyor dışarıdan.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely.
Maviye gideceğim amına koyayım.
Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Hah ver. Eyvallah. Ananı sikeyim bayağı. Oha. Oğlum Rocket League oynuyorum.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun?
Evet.
Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes. Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls.
Eyvallah abi, senin boktan oyundan daha iyi bence bu. Yes, işte bu. Ay direkten zınk. Zınk. Temiz. Harbi tam istediğim gibi.
Stanley, are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time because guess what?
Temiz.
That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is
Hayır.
my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley.
Atlarım ki.
Besides,
Atlayayım mı?
You need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what
Atlayayım mı?
I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either.
Bye bye.
Hold on. What are you doing?
Ananı sikeyim, çok iyi.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that, Stanley.
Ananı sikeyim, çok iyi oyun. Ha siktir, oyun çok iyi bu arada. Oğlum korku oyuna döndü, ananı sikeyim, ne oluyor lan? Oğlum oyun bayağı iyi bu arada. Oha, bir oyun yapmak istesem gerçekten böyle bir oyun yapardım bu arada. Bayağı her şeye taşak geçecek bir oyun yapardım. Çok iyi. Harbi bak, çok taşaklı bir, yani çok taşaklı bir şey şunu yapmak. Bunlara tıklayamıyorum. Yan odaya giremiyorum. Okey. Buralara girebiliyor muyuz? Yok. Ne oldu lan?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Evet. Bekle abi. Bekletelim birazcık ya. Pezevenklik değil mi amına koyayım? The end is never the end diyor. Okey. Baştan başladık. Peki oyunda bir şey değişiyor mu acaba bu başlangıçlarda falan?
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were.
Bak bu sefer diyaloglar değişti bu arada. Değil mi? Diyalog değişti bu arada ya. Galiba diyalog değişti bu arada. Bak şuraya da girebiliyoruz. Bu tarafa girebiliyor muyum? Giremiyorum. Aç lan!
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yine sağdan gideceğim.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first.
Bir daha deneyelim bakalım sağdan gitmeyi.
The lounge was sublime.
Peki bu sefer aşağı atlasam ne olur?
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Yok abi, eyvallah. Bu sefer asansörde aşağı atlasam ne olur?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Mesela şuraya atlayayım mı buraya? Chat.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Eyvallah abi, adam iyi taşak geçti. 5000 girdi değil mi? Tamam. Okey, bir daha.
Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Yok abi, eyvallah. Oğlum bayağı değişiyor lan burada diyaloglar falan.
When Stanley came to a set of two
Yok abi,
open
eyvallah.
doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting.
Eyvallah abi.
And Stanley knew it.
Tebrikler Stanley, gerçekten. Alkış alabilir miyiz chat?
By the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room.
Peki buralarda falan acaba gizli geçit falan var mı ya? Yok. Değilim, belki vardır dedim. Yok, eyvallah. Eyvallah, almayalım. Teşekkür ederim.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Peki nereye gidebilirim şimdi, onu düşünüyorum. Bak şurada bir kapı var. Oğlum her yere bir yer açılıyor. Acaba şu kırmızı arabaya mı atlayacağım chat? Ne diyorsunuz? Kırmızı arabaya falan mı atlayacağım?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing
Yok, atlayamıyorum, okey.
someone else can be difficult, but the
Bu sefer bu taraftan gitsem o zaman ne olacak bakalım. Ya da biraz beklesem ne olur bunu?
Someone you've forgotten?
Sanki bir tık daha yukarı çıkaracak gibi hissediyorum beni.
Stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for her.
Bekleyelim. Ne olacak? Tutuysa sen beni oynasaydın. Yok, gerek yok ki. Gayet ben dublajı bayağı beğendim bu arada. Bu şeyi.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Okey, tamam, karıyla konuşalım. Bu sefer bakalım ne olacak kadınla konuştuğumuzda. Let's go. Daha doğrusu konuşmadığımızda. Bakalım. Başka bir sona yönlendiriyordu çünkü 15 saniye boyunca cevap vermezsek. Bak, sigara şeyleri falan var. Oğlum bu oyun aslında videosu çekilir bir şey değil mi? Açmayacağım bu sefer telefonu. Yok abi, almayayım. Eyvallah. Böyle Stanley Parable bütün sonlar tarzı bir video yapabilirim bu arada. İlginç olabilir. Açmayacağım dostum, arama artık. Bu ne ya? Garanti bankası gibi amına koyayım. 5 dakikada bir zırt pırt arıyorsunuz amına koyayım. Açmayacağım, Allah Allah. Kapı çıkmak istiyorum. Bu arada 15 saniye de değil bu yani. 15 saniye boyunca telefona cevap vermeseydi diyor ya. Fişini çekebiliyor muyum? Oha! Oğlum.
Stanley, did you just unplug the phone?
Evet.
No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that?
Elimle.
You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible.
Niye?
Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible?
Valla E'ye bastım abi fişe gidip.
I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible.
Abi takalım mı geri? Geri tak. Geri tak. Anamız sikecek bu. Geri tak.
Stanley, you're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you've made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world.
Gerçi oyunu mu durduracak?
Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, it can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Yo, çıkmıyorum dostum. Çıkış diyor burası. Bence buradan çıkabiliriz chat. Ne diyorsunuz? Bence buradan çıkabiliriz. Yok, çıkmıyor. Okey. Peki buradan falan geçebilir miyiz? Gizli bir geçit falan. Yok. Okey. Eyvallah abi. Burayı açabiliyor muyuz? Açamıyoruz. Tamam, buradan gidelim. Aha, aşağı atlamayalım diye etrafına...
Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
What the fuck? Okey. Beni geri mi götürüyor şu anda? Evet, beni bayağı şu an geri götürüyor. Çıkamıyorum. Bu kapıdan da giremiyorum. Bayağı geri götürüyor şu an beni. Okey. Yeni geldim, ne yaptığını bilmiyorum. Bu asansördeki yola atlarsam başka bir şey oluyor. Yaptım mı onu? Evet, yaptım.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending. The story will have resolution once again and you'll be home free in the real world.
Ama istemiyorum. Ama istemiyorum. Ya ben daha araştırmak istiyordum etrafı. Burayı da açamıyoruz artık.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first.
Tamam.
I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yok moruk, ben sağdan gideceğim dostum ben.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Hayır dostum, gitmeyeceğim. Oyunun anasını harbi siktim bu arada. Oğlum o kadar keyif alıyorum ki ama şunu yaparken. Ama gitmek istemiyorum oradan ben. Bir daha buraya gireceğim. Yok, giremem. Tamam, oradan girmem gerekiyor galiba. Değil mi? Okey.
After everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone? Like so much garbage, it's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever. Reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way.
Amına koydum oyunun bu arada.
Down entirely to willingly destroy all of my work. I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I? No, I have to.
Hayır.
I have to.
Hayır, kapatma.
I have to.
Kapatma. Abi kapatma oyunu. Tıklayabiliyorum hala bir şeyler. Ananı sikeyim, ne oluyor?
I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it.
Yok, Nightmare Shift'te oynamadım aşkım galiba. Oynamış da olabilirim, bilmiyorum. Çok fazla çok oynamadım.
That there's a world outside of you. You're a child.
Ah lan, geçemedim bunu.
My story.
Anasını siktim bu arada hikayesini.
The door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first.
Eyvallah.
I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that?
En başa mı attı beni? Okay.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first.
Tamam, bir daha gideceğim sağa.
Be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine.
Bir daha gideceğim sağa.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ney? Ananı götünden mi sikeyim Karagöz? Hacivat.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back.
Okay.
Behave
Oğlum, oyun çok
exactly
korkutucu olmaya başladı bu arada.
choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Şey demişim, yeter artık orası çocuğa diye böyle bağırıyor böyle oyun yapımcısı.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back.
Gitgide böyle daha fazla şey oluyor bu arada.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly.
Acaba kaç defa
always
sağa
putting
gitmem
the
gerekiyor?
story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine.
Cümleler gitgide daha da tamamlanıyor.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay. Hala bir şey açamıyorum burada.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back.
Galiba soldan mı gitmemiz gerekiyor artık arkadaşlar?
That means choosing responsibly.
Galiba soldan gitmemiz gerekiyor.
I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine.
Daha sağdan gidemiyoruz artık galiba. Değil mi?
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
Yok, sağdan git. Gideyim. Harbi yani 10 kere falan gitsem yani ne olacak ya, nasıl diyeyim?
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley.
Allah Allah. Burada bir son yok, soldan git. Okey. Öyle yapacağız o zaman. Yo, yapmıyor. Devam etmiyor. Tamam, soldan gidiyorum şu an. Eyvallah. Girdim abi. Evet. Bir şeyler hakkında grafikte artı para, işte bizim yeni ürünümüz. Okey. Aa, süpürge dolabını açamıyorum bu sefer. Peki aşağıdan gitsem bu sefer? Aa, aşağıdan da gidemiyorum. Mecbur götürüyor beni şu an. Aşağıdan da gidemiyorum. Buraya da giremiyorum. Ama geri çıkabiliyorum. What the hell? Bunu bir şekilde böyle bug'a sokup gidemez miyim ya, şu şekil? Yok, gidemiyorum. Okey, gittim sağdan. Evet, şu an sadece müdürün ofisi. Müdürün ofisi de çık lan.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Oğlum, ofis değişmiş.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all
Bu sefer ses alıcısı var.
questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now
Lan
he
sesli mi
would
konuşuyorum?
draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Night Shark 115. Night Shark 115. O kadar da değildir herhalde, değil mi yani?
Night.
Oğlum bir saniye, oyun gerçekten yok ya, algılamıyor şeyi. Mikrofonu algılamıyor oyun. Aynen algılamıyor.
Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver right there on the wall.
Night Shark 115. Night Shark
I'm sorry, is there a
115.
problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the
Lan
story.
amına kodumun oğlu, söylüyorum ya işte. Night Shark 115, orospu çocuğu.
Okay, fine. You're not gonna do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the
Geçtim
right.
zaten.
You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there.
Geçtim
Why
zaten.
did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You...
Ananın
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
What the fuck?
Stanley? Hello?
What
Is
the...
everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me?
Anlatıcı mı oldum ben? What?
Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose.
Buraya.
Something.
Buraya.
Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story.
Unity'ymiş lan, sorsan yapılmamış bu arada.
So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide.
Oğlum üzüldüm lan anlatıcıya.
Your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do.
Üzgünüm Leroy.
Take as much time as you need.
Okay. Galiba ilk başta ilk oyun mu Source'da yapıldı? Ha, okey.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Okey. Yok, konsolu açamıyorum. Yeni içerik.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Yeni içerik mi? Bastım denedim arkadaşlar, olmuyor. Oyun bitti bu arada, gerçek sonunu yaptın. Ama yeni içerik açıldı, merak ettim. Korktu dedim lan burası.
And thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers.
Eyvallah.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
Eyvallah.
The
Başarılı
Stanley
gayet.
Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Ultra Deluxe content şu an. Okey.
So far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet.
Sadece Deluxe'da mı var bu? Okey. Hadi bakalım.
Beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Mesmerize.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or oh, there we go. All right, okay. Finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Eyvallah. Yeni content.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Oğlum korku oyunu mu oldu lan bir anda? Zıplama çemberi mi?
Alright. Alright, let's see, it's the jump circle.
Bu yeni içerik. Ananı sikeyim. Evet. Sadece $10 ödeyerek 36 kere zıplayabilirsiniz arkadaşlar. Değil mi? Aslında bu kadarmış. Bir şey diyeceğim. Fişini çekebiliyor muyuz bunun? Bence bir kere daha zıplarım. Zıplayamıyorum. Eyvallah. Zıplama hakkım kalmadı.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Bence de.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
Harbi bu ne babacım ya?
New content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Okay. Yeni içeriğin tadını çıkardığın için teşekkür ederiz.
You've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base.
Çok güzel eleştiri yapmışlar bu arada herifler.
Other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Yok. Okay. What the fuck? Yine değişti oğlum. Oğlum bu oyun ne kadar uzun anasını satayım. Yaratıcılığa bak anasını satayım. Bayağı yaratıcı oyun bu arada lan. Pazartesilerden nefret ediyorum. Eyvallah abi.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Yok. Aynı yer mi lan? Gideyim mi? Gideyim. Bence gideyim. Kardeşim artık o Twitter değil bu arada. Aynen öyle. X. Merak ettim burada ne var. Okay.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned
Sen mi yaptın
out?
abi yenisini?
It got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it
Ananı
away
sikeyim.
here
Dark
where
Souls'a mı geldik? Ne
games
oluyor?
won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity.
Oğlum Pinti Panda yazıyor sanırım lan şurada.
Oh, the waste.
2014 Independent Games Festival. Bak ödül almış bir de. Ödüllerini de koymuşlar. BAFTA'dan aynı şey. Tam BAFTA'dan galiba alamamışlar arkadaşlar ödülü. Sorun yok. Ama galiba buradan almışlar. Vay be. The Memory Zone Temp. Anlıyorum. Okey. Mikrofon. İlk öpücüğümüz, ilk arabam. Stanley Parable'ın 2013'te piyasaya çıkması. 2013 Stanley Parable yayınlandığında. Unutma. Geri çıkamıyoruz. Okey. Orijinal. Yeniden yapım. Buy on Steam. Maşallah, maşallah. Ne güzel uyumuş lan bu. İyi zamanlar. Okey. Hafıza şeridine bir yolculuk. Gerçekleştiği için gülümse. Ah lan. Demosu amına koyayım. Stanley Parable'ın. Okey. Bittiğini sanmıyorum. Don't play for 5 years. Evet, 5 yıl boyunca oyun oynamadığınızda başarım kazanıyorsunuz arkadaşlar. It is impossible to get this achievement. Okey. BAFTA oyun ödüllerinde şey olmuş. Game Innovation şeyinde bulunmuş. Kategorisinde yer almış. Aynı şekilde Debut Game kategorisinde BAFTA'da. Ve hikaye açısından. Sadece ama bunlar şey yani ödül almamış. Sadece aday olmuş. New York Times anlıyorum. Los Angeles Times. Okey. İlginç. Buraya bakamıyoruz, okey. Şurada piyano var. Bu ne? İyi anılarda küçük Stanley. Farenin ismiymiş abi. Umarım telifi değildir bu müzik. 2012 ModDB Award'u kazanmış hatta.
Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created. Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless
Stanley
husk
Parable,
with
okay.
an hour of new elevator content.
Bakıyorum şu an başka ne var. The tasteful nostalgic it was good. Let's begin again. Okey, buralarda bir şey var. Aşağıda bir yer var. Hafıza sarıyı bakımda. Okey. İlginç. Stanley Parable. Aha. Person of the Year. Yılın adamı. Oyunun geliştirme şeyi. The end is never end. Gayet iyi. For Scott K. Stanley Parable. Fiziksel kopyası. Okey. 29 numara falan filan. Numaranız 29 diyor.
Here's another moving passage. This time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Okey. Başka bir şey var mıdır burada? Source'da, aynen Source'la yapıldı oyun. İlk oyun, doğru. Neredeyse her şey. People play games because of what they can do inside them and enjoy and your game is very good at letting them know they can't do anything. Okey. Buraya giremiyoruz. Gülücük var. En büyük zenginlik hafızadır.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh, no.
İncelemeler.
Oh, God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years.
Bu ne oğlum? Among Us var lan.
Imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Among Us var oğlum.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion.
Tavsiye ediliyor, tavsiye edilmiyor. Dürüst olmak gerekirse bu oyunu tam olarak anlamak için oynamak beni rahatsız edemedi. Okay.
I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
İlginç, çok ilginç. Aha, olumsuz incelemeler burada. Ama bunlar gözükmüyor, okey. Burada da galiba bir tane olumsuz inceleme var, buna da bakalım. Tavsiye edilmiyor.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did.
Yok, zıplayamıyorum.
Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record.
Oyunun fikri iyi olsa da tüm alternatif sonlar ve cameo görünümlerine rağmen çok tekrarlayıcı ve hızlı bir şekilde sıkıcı hale geliyor. Tamam, hadi oyun düşündürücü olarak adlandırılmış ancak iletişim kurmaya çalıştığı fikri oldukça hızlı bir şekilde anlayabiliyorsun. Abi bir kere ve oyunlarda seçim yok şeyini tekrarlıyor. Tekrarlıyor. Doğrusal olmayan oyunları tercih eden biri için bu vaazlar hiç ilginç olmadığı için hızlı bir şekilde can sıkıcı hale geliyor. Sadece ilk dakikalarda düşündürücü, o kadar yani.
Tereya 5. State of Play Death Stranding 2 duyuruldu ve Kojima PlayStation için yeni ip geliştirdiğini duyurdu.
State of Play mi? Harbi lan, State of Play vardı anasını satayım. Çeviri bayağı iyi bu arada, evet. Çeviri gerçekten tam böyle Türkçeleştirme çevirisi olmuş yani. Şurada da bir şey var ama oraya giremiyoruz galiba. Değil mi? Aynen, buraya giremiyoruz. Okey. Tamam. Devam edelim. Güzelmiş oyun bu arada.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, no, no, no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue. And it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before.
Acaba ne olacak? Ne kadar konuşacak?
Only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah blah.
Başa mı döndü?
We've eaten too much and it can't be
Başa
just
döndü.
yet. No.
Bastım abi.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
Almost.
I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome.
Wow, saksı maksı çiçekler falan gitmiş lan. Konuşma değil mi artık? Ölmüş amına koyayım. Siktir. Bir daha basabiliyorum. Bassam mı basmasam mı? Yayın kaçta bitecek, uykum geldi valla bilmiyorum. Oyunu bitirdikten sonra kapatırız büyük ihtimalle ya. Okey. Ne oldu oğlum?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said...
Dünyanın en iyi oyunu amınayım. Gerçekten dünyanın en iyi oyunu bu arada. O kadar keyifli ki skip düğmesine basmak.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never...
Evet. Su damlamaya başlıyor. Daha ne kadar skipleyebileceğiz acaba? Ananın... Oğlum çökmüş lan burası hep. Ananı sikeyim. Ne oldu oğlum? Okey. İlginç. Bence bir skip'e daha basalım. Bir skip'e daha basalım bence. Bu ne oğlum, kaç yıl geçti lan? Etrafta çiçekler açmaya başlamış. Çiçekler gitti. Post apokaliptik. Ne oluyor oğlum, bu sesler ne? Ananı sikeyim, Death Staring'e döndü. Bas. Bas. Skip. Yarraydık. Bu ne oğlum? Harbi anlatıcı toprak oldu anasını satayım. Kaç yıl geçti acaba? Ankara burası değil mi? Aslında 500 yıl geçmemiş. Sadece bizi Ankara'ya ışınlamış. Okey, galiba bitti artık değil mi?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Galiba artık bitti. Okey. Bunlar ne? Geride bekleniyor. What? Bu ne oğlum? Burada da bir şeyler var. Okey. Galiba bitti arkadaşlar. Valla bitmediyse de artık yeter bu kadar bence. Çünkü yeni içerik. Yeni content. Girelim. Haydi girelim. Tamam, yeni content. Let's go. Bakalım. Bu sefer nasıl yeni content var. Bir an bitti sandım. Vay canım benim, sen ikiye geçtin ha. Aynen öyle abi. Hoş geldiniz. Peki şuraya gidemiyor muyum ya? Gidemiyoruz galiba. Buraya da giremiyoruz. Buraya giremiyoruz. Okey, bakalım. Yeni içerik. Hadi bakalım.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new story built from the ground up.
Tamam, bakacağım.
Possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
What? Okay, Stanley Parable 2.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress, innovation, and long-term franchising potential.
Okay. Geri döndüler. 2 kapı. Stanley Parable 2. Buradan giremiyoruz. Buradan giremiyoruz. Buradan okey.
I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of
İki göz, iki kulak, iki burun deli, iki kol, iki bacak. Kırmızı kalemi kim aldı? Ben. Okey. Oğlum işte oyun direkt bitmiyor yani. Yarım saatte bitmiyor. Farklı farklı sonları var hep. Her yerde 2 yazıyor. Bu ne? Kimden yönetim? Kime? Herkese. Herkese. Konu ben. Toplantı saat 14'te. İştenlikli yönetim. Okey. Her şeyi duraklatan buton. Bir Roma rakamı 2. Okey. Gösteri katına bu taraftan gidiniz. Yeni içerik. Anlıyorum. İETT otobüsü almışlar. Güzel. Buradan giremiyoruz. Hadi bakalım. Gösteri katına gidiyoruz abi. Lakere bunlar sana tip vermedim. Yok ben şey yapmadım abi. Hiç başvurmadım Exa. Gerek yok zaten başvurmaya.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Oyunu oynayan oyuncunun adını söyleyen buton mu? Aa, oyunda adını duy. Merak ettim.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized.
Ben de başvurmamıştım. Valla bilmiyorum. 20 abone olunca bana partnerlik geliyor. Direkt partnerlik falan gelmedi. Okey. Tıklayamıyoruz. Galiba yukarıda. Bu buton oyunu oynayan oyuncunun adını söyler. Öyle bir şey imkansız bu arada. Öyle bir şey imkansız. Jim mi? Gerçek isim Jim arkadaşlar. Geçen sene burada Squid Game'e yanaştım, yetkilisi gelip tip vermişti. Oo, maşallah geçen sene yapmıştı oğlum.
Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Tamam.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim,
evet.
Seizing all of the world's
Jimmy Potter.
possibilities as Jim, and as Jim, watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes, you see.
Gayet iyi abi, gayet iyi devam oyunu. Gayet iyi devam oyunu.
The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away.
Kaldırma. Kaldırma. Kaldırma. Kaldırdı. Okey. Lan komik olan ne? Deluxe gel buraya. Gel. Buraya gel. Banladım. Devam. Yeter be kardeşim da yani. Allah Allah ya. Sana ne yarram yani, gülüyoruz amına koyayım. Komik olan ne? Komik olan lan, yarım saattir adam aynı şeyi yazıyor. Komik olan ne? Allah Allah. Neden nefes alıyorsun? Neden yayın açıyorsun dostum? Başka ne vardır abi burada? New features, new content, new ideas. Okey. Gayet iyi. Gayet iyi. Oğlum ne kadar çok şey var lan. Stanley Parable 2 stres kovası. Bakalım. Bakalım abi. Stres kovasına da bakalım.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical. That it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those.
Kerebotter 2 gelir mi? Elbet bir gün abi.
I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance.
Bu oyunda içerik bitmiyor sanırım. Ya 2 saat falan sürüyor zaten oyun ya. 1,5 saattir oynuyoruz.
It's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Olur, ver. Of. Of. Kova.
Can you feel it?
Of, kova. Tamam, bunu alıp kaçıyorum ben şimdi. Kaçamıyorum. Doğrudur abi. Ben her zaman karizmatiyim ama. Yeni mekanik. Hadi bakalım. Aa! Elimde kaldı lan kova. Gayet iyi bu arada. Bu tişört en iyi yeni içerik. Son asla son değildir. 2. Anlıyorum. Yeni içeriği gördüm. Stanley Parable 2. 2. Anlıyorum. Bu nedir? Lütfen ekran görüntüsü almayın. Aldım.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Bir ara iyileşin. 12. doğum günün kutlu olsun üvey yeğenim.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get well someday it is.
Aldım SS.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with no, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Nerelere gidiyoruz lan biz? Ne kadar fazla yer var amına koyayım oyunda. Çok ilginç. Açılış kenar, aha. Boşluk girişi bilmem ne. Onlar ne? Bu beyaz yer ne? Bu beyaz yere giremiyorum. Okey. Burası ne?
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like.
Atlayayım mı lan?
Forward for video games as a medium.
What? Atlayayım mı? Tamam. Atlıyorum. Atladım bir de. Fuck. Gerçekten sonsuza kadar mı düşeceğiz?
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Yok. Ben düşmek istiyorum bayağı. Bakalım ne kadar düşeceğiz.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
Yok.
Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Yok.
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're...
Oğlum burada birisini köle mi yapmışlar?
What normal person
Just the two of us.
I figured the hole was as deep as
We can make it if we try, just the two of us. Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky, just the two of us. Güzel abi. Şarkıyı da yazmışlar. Just the two of us.
We just put all this behind us and agree to just call the whole mostly infinite. If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the
Yok.
world and we can...
Uygun değil abi.
I'll
Uygun
just be
değil.
up here when you're ready.
Uygun değil abi. Uygun değil. Fall damage yok, puan kırıldı. Galiba çıkamıyoruz buradan. Değil mi? Galiba çıkamıyoruz. Okey. Işınlanıyorum.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Evet. Hadi bakalım. Devam edelim. Böyle sabırsız bir insanım işte. Aa, tepeye de gidiş yer var ama oraya çıkamıyoruz. Tamam. Elimde kovayla devam ediyorum abi. Beleş yeni artık kolay başarımlar. Buradan alın. Yeni içerik zıplama çemberi. Bunu hızdan yaptık.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle.
Evet, biraz öyle oldu abi.
Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Ama zıplamak istiyordum. Anlıyorum. Anlıyorum. Beleş yeni artı kolay başına. Bu kadar basit olduğunu inanmıyorum. Hemen şimdi al. Kolu çek, yeni başarımını al. Başka adım yok. İşe yarıyor. Tamam. Kolu çekip alayım başarımı.
You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Bence buna basmayalım arkadaşlar. Bence buna basmayalım. Bence bu bizi kandırıyor. Yok abi, eyvallah. Basmayacağım. Teşekkür ederim. Yok. Kolay gelsin.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen?
Tamam, basıyorum. Basıyorum, tamam. İşe yarıyor be abi. Tamam, basıyorum. Bakalım ne olacak. İnşallah başa falan atmaz.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been furiously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Abi achievement'ımı verir misin? Abi achievement'ımı verir misin? Vermiyor. Okey. Vermiyor abi. Oğlum bu arabanın olayı ne acaba? Bak burada da bir şeyler var amına koyayım. Ne yazıyor? Fragile yazıyor. Okey, tamam. Let's go. 40 kolu zorla al. Öyle bir mekanik yok abi, keşke olsaydı. Bu yeni. Onları bulabilir misin? Collect them all.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number
Bu ne rahatsız edici bir şey lan bu.
collect all of them and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Okey. Eyvallah. 5 tane daha toplamam gerekiyormuş. Anladım.
It really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Çıkış. Çıkışa gidelim abi artık. Okey. Gördük. Gördük. Herhangi bir problem yok. Gayet iyi lan. Adamlar ne güzel oyun yapmış anasını satayım. Ekran görüntüsü almayın.
Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment.
Evet.
I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable.
Harbi manyak amına koyayım. Stanley Parable 2.
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is
Emirhan
much
Koç Yiğit.
better. I feel good.
Teşekkür ederim, eyvallah olsun
Here we
için.
go. Version 2. Who are you kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait.
Hoş geldiniz.
Maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Yok artık ya. Yok artık.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427.
Oğlum adamlar menü yapmış espri için. Bitti herhalde değil mi? Bitmedi.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley picked up the bucket.
Yok artık. O kadar salakça ki.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on it. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to him. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Yok abi eyvallah.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Yok artık. Burada bir yer açılmış chat. Collectible. Yes.
One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these. Only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Okey. Peki buradan aşağı atlayabilir miyiz chat artık? Galiba atlayamayız değil mi? Ama şuradan gidebiliyoruz. Peki burası bizi nereye götürüyor? Aşağı götürüyor. İlginç. Oğlum oyun bitmiyor amına koyayım chat. Oyun harbi bitmiyor. Daha ne kadar bir şey yapabilir herifler?
Okay, this is day number 295. Take number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels...
YouTube videosu 1 saat 54 dakika oldu.
study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel
Stanley konuşuyor galiba şu an.
every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling.
Kovanın olayına hiçbir olayı yok.
My chest when I set it down.
Sadece makara olsun diye koyulmuş bir şey kova.
Doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people would pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my
Minecraft ile ilgili olan kısmı görmedik bile.
But I have to be careful.
Minecraft'la ilgili kısmı mı vardı lan? Bak görmemişiz. Rocket League'i gördük. Firewatch'u gördük.
What's that? Who's there?
Yarın yayın yapar mıyız bilmiyorum abi. Yaparız büyük ihtimalle de. Bakalım. Okey. Bitti mi yine? Oğlum yine bir şeyler mi değişti?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So that Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Okey. Bu sefer soldan gitmek istiyorum.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Bu sefer soldan girdim. Bakalım ne olacak. Onları nasıl bulabiliriz? Hepsini bulana bir ödül var. Yalanlar. Kendine dalga geçmeyi bırak. Onları çok istiyorum. Okey. Görev durumu. Hazine... Aha 427'ye benziyor. Bir tanesi fark edin insanlar. Onların havada süzmesini sağlayan şeydir. Bu fotoğrafları kim çekti? Figlileri bulmak zor. Çalışan 416 tarafından sağlanan ipuçlarını takip ediniz. Yapabiliriz. Kırmızı oda. Süpürge dolabında var mıdır?
Oh Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Hop.
Temiz.
Keri sen de mi geçtin reis? Yes. Biz de geçtik abi.
Mini stands, Stanley figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Kovayı kafamıza takalım. Burada notlar falan var. Bunları okuyamıyoruz abi. Burada var ya ne gizli şeyler yatıyordur ana satayım. Araba.
Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss said he was crazy.
Döngüye girdik.
And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all.
Evet, döngüye girdik.
Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort.
Peki bu döngü ne kadar devam edecek?
This isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good can come from this. Who knows what sort of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rules were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground.
6, 2, 7, 11 herhalde.
Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next.
Kovamı ver.
None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to
Kovamı
find
ver.
the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Selam girişim Insta'dan cevap vermiştim ben bu yaralar hala hatırlıyorum. Hoş geldin. Denizde Souza hoş geldin.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten.
Peki kova olmadan gitseydim oraya ne olurdu?
How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything.
Oyunun diğer evet arkadaşlar.
My life kicks ass, and she backflipped all the way to work. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Bu sefer kova almıyorum.
Mr. Memo.
Okay.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
Sağdan gireceğim bu sefer.
this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic. Perhaps too majestic, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open
Son olsun bu. Sonra salacağım. Şu aşağı gidebiliyor muyum onu merak ettim ya.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else.
Şu tarafa da gidebilirim mesela. Yo ama şuraya gideceğim. Bir tekrardan şeye gideceğim. Telefonun olduğu yere gideceğim.
Someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking, this is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Okay.
That's her, Stanley. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do
Yine aynı muhabbet mi oluyor?
You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check.
Galiba aynı muhabbet oluyor artık.
No, Yes, definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife.
Değil mi?
And the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even?
Okey. Oyuna yeniden başla desem ne olur? Son bir şey denemek istiyorum.
What could it mean?
Son bir şey denemek istiyorum.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Şuna tıklasam. Okey. Bir şey yapamıyorum. Kovayla sona kadar gitsem peki, adamın sözlerini dinlesem. Başlar başlamaz ofisine dönüp kapıyı kapatmayı denemiş. Yok, hayır. Bir deneyelim bakalım şeyi. Kolay gelsin abi, eyvallah. Tamam, şu an yukarı çıkalım bakalım.
Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Hop.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and figures. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Eyvallah. Buralarda bir şey yok. Devam edelim. Şu tarafa gidelim. Gördüm. Burası gelsin bakalım. Buradan da çıkalım bakalım. Nereye gidecek? Burası bir yere gitmez herhalde artık ya, değil mi? Yine aynı şey olur. İyi yayınlar Keri. Kaliteli bir yayıncıya beğeniyorsun. Eline emeğine sağlık. Eyvallah abi. White Asar, hoş geldin. Valla ofise dönüp kapıyı kapatmayı denemedim. Bundan sonra onunla deneyeyim. Ondan sonra salacağım artık. Yoruldum çünkü. Yaklaşık 2 saattir bu oyunu oynuyoruz. Hatta 2 saat 6 dakikadır oynuyormuşuz. Kaydı başlattığımdan beri YouTube'a atmak için. Okey. Saldım burayı. Normal bir sonuna bakalım bir de. Yani şeyle birlikte, kovayla birlikte nasıl yapıyoruz? 28.45 miydi burası? 28.45. Aynen öyle kardeşim. Adam söylemeden biz girersek buraya yoruyor yani. Okey. 5. şey. Beyin yanığı kremiyle. Evet, gerçekten bu arada. Beynim yandı artık. Bu arada chat, tekrardan hatırlatayım. Partnerlik almamda son 10 abonelik kaldı. Eğer abone olabiliyorsanız, abone olursanız sevinirim. Teşekkürler şimdiden. Son 10 abonelik mi? 9, hatta 9 kaldı galiba. 9 abonelik kaldı galiba partner olmamıza. 20 abonelikte partnerlik açılıyor. Sonuncu figürü de al bari, öyle çık oyuna. Evet, öyle yapacağımızdan büyük ihtimalle. Bir de o şeyi deneyeceğim işte. Ofisin kapısını kapatmayı deneyeceğim. White Esar yazmış. Eyvallah.
The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Eyvallah abi. Gidelim bakalım buradan. Mind Control Facility'ye gireceğim abi.
Mind Control Facility.
Elimde kova duruyor hala. Okey, kova gitti sandım bir an.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret.
Biz para izliyorsun, parayı sayıyoruz. Yapacak bir şey yok kardeşim. Twitch'te onu da yapamıyorduk. Kick sağ olsun yapabiliyoruz.
The monitors jumped to life and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
Yine işçi 104 kovulmuş, 601 kovulmuş. Okey. Bu Stanley Parable hakkında bir video yapalım bu arada ya chat.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well?
Değil mi? Yapılır buna o
Had the
video.
bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do?
Korsan mı? 464 korsan. Okey, ilginç.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it.
Oğlum adamlar elinde kova olunca bile ayrı bir diyalog yapmış.
He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Okay.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way. And the
bir de mesajlara baksan. Bakacağım Tohru. Peki sistem gücünü açık bıraksam ne olur? Yani şimdi kapalı olunca dışarı çıkıyorduk. Büyük ihtimal oyun şey olacak. Kova ile birlikte dışarı çıktı diyecek büyük ihtimal. Açık bıraksam ne olur? Onu merak ettim. Deneyelim mi? Bence denemekte fayda var. Deneyelim, let's go.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Anlıyorum abi.
Through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world.
Çok iyi.
The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable.
Çıkmak istiyorum.
All the possible paths his life could have taken,
çıkamıyor muyuz?
Was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Gerçekten bölüm bitti. Anlıyorum. Güzelmiş abi. Kovaya ayrı bir şey yazmaları aşırı farklı.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would
büyük ihtimalle gelir abi farklı diyaloglar. Beklerim oyundan.
They would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Galiba bu kadardı abi.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okey. Salalım artık abi. Beynim eridi yani. Beynim eridi gerçekten. Ana menüye çık. Oh, gerçekten beynim eridi. Stanley Parable 2 gözüküyor hala burada da bu arada. Masaüstü çık. Okey. Beynim eridi. Chat yavaştan artık salalım yayına. Kaç saattir yayındayız lan? 7 saattir yayındayız. Öncelikle gelen herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum. Umarım eğlenmişsinizdir. Umarım beğenmişsinizdir yayını. Stanley Parable'dan bu kadardı. Vallahi artık bütün sonlarını göremiyoruz maalesef ki. YouTube'dan da izleyecek arkadaşlara şimdiden teşekkür ediyorum. YouTube'a görüşürüz diyorum.